Hey everybody, welcome into Faith in Football. My name is Neil. Today we're talking start sits for Thursday and for the remainder of week 2, and we're talking injuries. Look, this is a really important episode. You don't want to miss it. Going into the week, going in and making those decisions, looking at who's on the waiver wire, who you can trade for, maybe who's panicking, and who is able to set you up for a awesome week 2. Look, fantasy football is an ever changing, ever evolving landscape in the football community, and keeping up with injuries is key to success in your fantasy football league. Now, you might be thinking, what could possibly be the correlation between injuries and the Bible? Well, we know that Jesus healed many during his ministry here on earth, and we know that disciples healed as well. But I'm not talking about healing from a physical standpoint. I'm talking about being mentally able and equipped to handle the rigors that come at us every day in our everyday life. And I'm reminded of First Peter chapter 5, verse 8. Today's going to be from the New King James Version. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks around about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." Now, a lot of people look at that and they go, well, you got to be on guard for those things, or, you know, not that you can't see, that you take for granted, that kind of sneak up on you like a lion does and then pounces, and it's just looking to eat you up. But I want you to break that sentence down a little bit and look at one key word that's in this verse that a lot of people overlook. It's the same way that you may see something on an injury report, or you might see something while you're watching a game. You really don't think anything of it, and then all of a sudden it comes back to bite you in the butt, and you should have paid attention in retrospect. It's the little bitty word, 3 letters, may. It says, seeking whom he may devour. Now, as my name on the Megala Bowl uh tournament looks, it says Downton Abbey, dude. And if you listen to the Ballers, you know that they do an episode where they compare players, and Alvin Kamara was compared to Downton Abbey. And for those of you who don't watch Downton Abbey, it's set in the early 1900s in England, during the World War One and the Roaring Twenties. It follows a family of English aristocrats through, and I'm also a Disney guy, so that's why I almost said aristocrats. But aristocrats, through their lives and the lives of their servants. Um, but when you say may, that's a permission word. That's asking permission to do something. May I get you this? May I do this? May I do that? When it says seeking whom he may devour, that means that you got to give the devil permission to devour you. You've got to release your power to him. See, in the garden, Adam and Eve, they had control, they had dominion. God gave dominion to Adam over all the earth. He had to give that up in order for the devil to take it. He couldn't just have it wrestled away from him because it was God given. God has given us power. The same power that he gave Jesus, Jesus gave to his disciples and gave to his followers. So if you are a follower of Christ, you have within you the same power that God or that Jesus did while he was here on earth. You have the ability to heal the sick and the lame, and to do all the things that he did if you have enough faith. If your faith is strong enough, you have that power to do that. You can't get rid You can't have that power taken from you. It has to be relinquished. So when we're looking at the injuries and we're looking at these things, I want you to think that the times in your life that maybe you're going through a rough time right now, maybe you've gone through it before in the past, maybe it's staring you in the face and you're fixing to go into a season that's difficult. Remember that in order to get through those tough seasons and the seasons that we've been through that are tough, and we look back and realize that we got through it because we didn't relinquish the power that God has given us, or that we've claimed the power that God has given us. So as you listen to the injuries that I'm about to read off, I want you to remember that God is with you, that God loves you, that He is inside of you, giving you that power. And don't worry about may devour, because He's looking for permission. Don't give it to Him. So we're hopping into injuries today, and then I'm going to get into start sits. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of talking. So you guys know when I take a sip, it's time for the sponsor of the show, one of my sponsors, Zia of Lafayette. Find them at 235 Doucet Road in Lafayette, Louisiana. Look, if you are in Lafayette, Louisiana, and you're hungry, go down to Zia of Lafayette, 235 Doucet Road, put it in your GPS, put it on your Google Maps, however you get around in a new city, or even in a city that you were born in, you just haven't explored that much. Go down there and check them out. Zia Rotisserie Grill, Rotisserie Bar. Go down there and check them out. They have rotisserie ribeye. Who ever heard of a rotisserie ribeye? If you've been to Zia, you know about it. You know it's absolutely phenomenal. The ribs are out of this world, Thai ribs especially. Check them out. The rotisserie chicken. And don't forget, welcoming back pesto trout at Zia right now. You can go down there and check them out. It is absolutely phenomenal. They brought it back after much demand. They haven't had that there since before COVID. So COVID, if I'm not mistaken, was the last time that they saw pesto trout on the menu. So make sure you go down there, check them out. And while you're there, show them that you subscribe to Faith in Football, and you can get appetizer of your choice on me for the table. So you can get hummus, get almond shrimp, the ancho shrimp, whatever appetizer you'd like. If you want to give the ribs a whirl before you commit to the full rack, they got that too. You can get a 4-count and you get a 6-count ribs. Totally up to you. Mix and match. If you want to do 2 ribs and 2 Thai ribs and 2 barbecue, find out what's what and what you like. They will be more than happy to make that accommodation for you. And if you are in town and you need some catering done, make sure you call up Zia as well. You can call them up at 337-406-0013. If Andy's not there, one of the people who answer the phone will be more than happy to take your catering order and cater it for you if you need to. If you just need delivery, they do that as well. Call them up, 337-406-0013. Tell them Neil sent you. And like I said, if you're eating in-house, make sure that you show that you subscribe to the channel, and you can get your free appetizer of your choice. So, taking another sip because that was a long sponsorship plug. So we're talking injuries, but I've kind of been holding off on this episode just because I want to try to get as much information to you as I can. I do want to caution you by saying make sure you're paying attention to the Friday practice reports that come out. If you're not having the Bleacher Report app on your phone or ESPN app on your phone, make sure that you're getting one of those, if not both of them, along with the NFL, so you can get as much injury information as you possibly can as quickly as you can. Now, yes, Sleeper does have outstanding content when it comes to that, but make sure that you're subscribe or you're downloading those apps as well to get all the information that you possibly can. I myself, being a subscriber to the Fantasy Footballers, I look at the injury report that they put out. So if you're a part of the Foot Clan, hi, how you doing? And thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. But make sure that you're tuning in to other podcasts as well. Fantasy Footballers I recommend, as well as Fantasy Pros. They also do injury updates a little later in the weekend because, unlike me, they get paid to do this. So they dive in a little deeper and give you a little more background. I'm going to be making you aware of players that do have injuries, designations, and a little bit of what my opinion is of what you should do if you have these players on your roster. So I've been holding off on Jordan Love, talking about him, trying to see what Green Bay is going to do, because if you are a Jordan Love manager and you don't have a backup, or at least a decent backup, then you're panicking right now. So calm down, breathe. It's okay. You can go catch somebody off the waiver wire and what they call stream a quarterback until Jordan Love gets back, which may be sooner than later. There is talk about having Jordan Love back for Sunday's game because they did play on Friday night. He does have a couple extra days rest. However, the expectation is 3 to 6 weeks. Now, he hasn't landed on the IR, which is a good thing, because when he lands on the IR, he is gone automatically for 4 weeks. That is the minimal once a player goes on IR that they have to miss. Okay. So the fact that he has not been put on IR yet is promising. He is dealing with a grade 1 or grade 2 MCL sprain. And like I said, you're looking at 3 to 6 weeks. Now, that's 3 to 6 weeks of Malik Willis. So if you have a league out there that does have a defense, you might want to plug them in if they're playing Green Bay, because I don't know about you, but just that one play plus what we saw in his previous stint was not that promising. So make sure that you're plugging in your defense against the Packers. And we're going to be talking about the running back, Josh Jacobs from the Packers, as well as Marshawn Lloyd, a little later on. So wait just a second and I'll get to that one. Now, there's only 2 quarterbacks I'm talking about in the injury report. If your quarterback does have an injury, he has slipped by this report. So make sure that you're checking in on that. And as a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, let me show you guys on Sleeper how to look for the designation. So we're going to go to my team. And again, this is in Thunderdome. This is what I consider my league of record. Or actually, I'd say, let's see this. League in, let's check out Caleb's team. Actually, I can't do it. There we go. So coming down here, you'll find these little icons here. This is the weather report for that specific game. It's Calvin Ridley's outlook. It's raining. We got rain. Tell you whether or not they're playing in a dome. Things like that. Now we'll go to my team. So apparently Sleeper doesn't allow the same as as your phone does. So anyway, if you go on the Sleeper mobile app, off your phone, there'll be a little, I guess, quote bubble, if you want to call it that. If you click on that, it'll give you some player news and information specifically for that player, a little more updates. And then, like I said before, if you go to NFL, or I'm sorry, ESPN, and you can look at injuries from there as well. So the second quarterback that I'm talking about is Joe Burrow. Now, anybody who watched the Cincinnati game against New England this past week knows that Cincinnati did not play well. Joe Burrow looked bad, just bad. There were a couple of throws to Jamar Chase that were okay, but for the most part, you saw him on the sideline, and a lot has been made of this, and he's been downplaying it, but him shaking his wrist. Now, I don't know about you, but if I see my quarterback shaking his wrist like that after he's come back from wrist surgery with a reconstructed ligament, that doesn't really sit well with me. So if you have Joe Burrow, you might want to consider your backup quarterback, whoever that may be, until Burrow works this thing out. Now, I get he didn't have T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase just came back after not getting a contract extension. So give him a little bit of grace, but definitely keep an eye on it. And I've said it before on the show, I was born in Springfield, Missouri, so I kind of got that show me type thing going on. So yeah, Joe Burrow is definitely going to have to show me that he can perform like we expect him to before I plug him into my starting lineup. So try maybe go out there and see if you can get a better backup. Now, if you got somebody who has Joe Burrow, who has Jamar Chase, or is carrying T. Higgins, maybe talk to them about a trade. See what you can get for him. Right now, he's not doesn't have a lot of good trade value. He's got some name cachet to him, but that's about it. Now let's get into running backs. And there are about 5 running backs that I'm going to be touching on. Actually, I'm sorry. There's going to be about 6 quarterbacks that I'm going to be touching on today. We're going to start out with a Thursday night game, Bills versus Dolphins. And this one, this is sending fantasy managers into a tizzy. If you have Devon Achane, he is a game time decision due to an ankle injury. Now, anybody who's seen this guy run knows he is lightning quick. He makes cuts. And if you got a bum ankle, you're not making cuts that quick. So that's something to keep an eye on. Raheem Mostert has already been officially deemed out for this game due to a chest injury. So he's gone. So a lot of this is going to be riding on Devon Achane if he can go. Now, if he can go, that's going to be an outstanding performance that he's going to be able to put up against the Bills. Now, here's the thing. The Bills have a really good defense. So you're probably looking at more of a passing game. Now Bills have switched a little bit of a philosophy from a pass first to a run. That's what's making their James Cook such a value in fantasy right now. And going up against Miami with a high-powered offense, they're going to have to play a lot of catch up. So you might be seeing a little more of an uptick in James Cook's reception, but I'll digress and mention that if Jeff Wilson is on your waiver wire, and he might be, because not a lot of people are, keeping an eye out for Jeff Wilson, then by all means, go ahead, pick him up, throw him on your roster, and see what happens. Because there's also Jalen Wright. Now, Jalen Wright was a big fantasy acquisition during the draft time. He was probably a little later in your draft. He was a dart throw, and he is a absolutely electric player. If I'm not mistaken, I have him in at least one league that I'm in, and I can't wait to break this kid out. If I hear that Devon Achane is going to miss, I'm trying my best to try to get Jalen Wright into my lineup I'm not trying to force him because I want to see what he's got, and if they're going to use him or if they're going to use Jeff Wilson, because the Dolphins have done some crazy things in the past when it comes to backup running backs. So if you've got him, he's a great stash, especially if Mostert and Achane are going to miss considerable time later in the season. Also, and this is the big one, guys. Nobody likes seeing this on Monday night. I talked about it in my last episode. CMC is dealing with Achilles tendonitis as well as a calf strain that kept him out of Monday's game. Now, Shanahan came out and said, okay, he should play. He might be okay. This is the same guy that said he was good to go. He was good to go. Oh, wait a minute. He's not going to play tonight. So we've already heard the coach speak and everything from the 49ers. Guys, if you own Jordan Mason, by all means, hang on to him. Okay. Because we saw that he put up 22 points in the game Monday night against a really good Jets defense. So if they're able to plug and play this kid in the CMC role, that is dangerous. So if he's capable of doing this, by all means, hold on to. I'm definitely holding Jordan Mason. Now, J.K. Dobbins, on the other hand, I would wait one more week on J.K. just because of the matchup that he has this week. Okay. Matter of fact, let me see. That's why I can remember, because team he's facing is garbage. He's facing Carolina this week. So in facing Carolina, he can add extreme value to him right now. Now, if you're thinking about trading J.K. Dobbins, maybe you're one of those players that lost Puka and you're looking for an upgrade, you're looking for a replacement at wide receiver. Guys, J.K. Dobbins after this week could possibly bring you that. Okay. So hang on to him, but by all means, definitely hang on to Jordan Mason for the remainder of the season, because him being on that team with that kind of production and earning the confidence of the coaching staff, that's priceless. So hang on to him. Another running back we're talking about, Ken Walker. Yes, Ken Walker the third from the Seattle Seahawks. He is dealing with an abdominal injury that he suffered toward the end of the game this past week. So that means that Zach Charbonnet should be your next target for that offense. So if you don't want to give up Ken Walker, I understand you want to, see how things work out. But guys, when we're talking about an abdominal strain, like, you can't put a cast on that. You can't put anything on it. That's got to heal over time. We've seen abdominal strains before, and they are lingering and they are just unpredictable. So, especially for a running back, going to be twisting, turning, taking blows. Look, if anybody out there is willing to trade with you for Ken Walker, maybe they don't have, I don't know, the information that I'm giving you right now, take advantage of that. Go and get try to get value. I'm not going to say just give them up for nothing, but get some value out of them if you can. Now, the next guy I'm talking about, Josh Jacobs. Now, you guys remember my boy Blaze was on this channel with me. He did an episode of mock drafting with us earlier in the year. He's got Josh Jacobs. And my recommendation to him was a wait and see approach. Right now, he's been limited at practice, but it's only Wednesday. So dealing with injuries early on Wednesday, with the Packers playing earlier in the week, they played Friday, got a lot of time. Wednesday, he's dealing with a little bit of a back issue. So keep an eye on this because he and Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie running back that they drafted this year, is also dealing with injury. So they really don't have a running back. They really don't have a quarterback. So the Packers are in rough shape after week 1. So if Josh Jacobs can go, by all means, fire him up because with just Malik Willis, he's looking to get a whole lot of volume. If Marshawn Lloyd is the choice for Green Bay and they decide to rest Jacobs and give him a little more time to get better, by all means, check out and see what the kid has. I'm not saying force him into your lineup, but if you got a spot, throw him on it. So going into wide receivers, everybody by this time knows that Puka Nacua has hit the IR, which I explained earlier means that he is out 4 weeks. Word out of the Rams camp is that he is expected to miss more than 4 weeks. If that is the case, you're looking at Demarcus Robinson as a key pickup in fantasy. So make sure that you're going out and you're grabbing Demarcus Robinson if you are the Puka manager. And if you're not the Puka manager, go ahead and grab him so the Puka manager doesn't get him. Okay. We play a lot of checkers in fantasy football. And if you're a winner, you know that checkers beats chess every time. So if you guys are playing checkers and your league mates are playing chess, you can definitely take advantage of some early season slip ups that they might have that you're looking ahead for that. Okay. That's how I got that thing right there. Okay. Playing checkers, not chess. Okay. If you want to know how I walk through trades, go back, listen to my previous episode, the week 1 in review, week 1 heroes, season long zeros. And remember, if you're panicking, then you probably lose. So don't panic. Take advantage of the panic. You want to be the guy who's swooping in and scooping up the guys that people have lost confidence in. Okay. Because remember, that's what God does for us. God swoops in when we've lost confidence in ourselves and builds us back up. Okay. So that's the first wide receiver I'm talking about. He's Puka Nacua has a PCL strain. Like I said, is expected to miss 4 weeks at least, if not 6. So make sure that you're keeping an eye out for that injury. And if any of you have Demarcus Robinson available on your waiver wire, make sure that you're going out and getting him. Now, this name you probably haven't heard this year. We heard it a lot during the draft season. It's Roman Wilson, rookie wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers, had been dealing with an ankle injury during the preseason and in training camp where he picked up the injury. He had been limited at practice, but is looking like he might be able to hit the field in week 2. So if he is, and he might be out there because nobody picked this kid up, he might be worth at least a roster stash just to see what he is. Now, if you're in leagues like I am in a couple of my leagues where it's a fab budget, where you have to bid your fab, which is free agent acquisition budget, FAAB, you could probably pick him up right now for $0 on your bid if you have a spot available. So some of you guys might be hurt, they might be on IR. You don't want to part with these guys like Puka. So go ahead, throw him on and see what happens. It's what we call a roster stash. Stash him, see how things work out. Okay. T. Higgins. I just traded T. Higgins in a couple of leagues, and I think I picked him up in one. Now, don't get me wrong. I like T. Higgins' upside, But as I discussed with Joe Burrow, the Joe Burrow incident or injury with his wrist, if Joe Burrow is off, then T. Higgins is going to be off. So I'm not really that big on his upside. If I get burned on T. Higgins, then cool. I'm good with that. I'm comfortable with that. What I'm not comfortable with is having a guy of his caliber sitting on my bench, driving me crazy and tempting me to throw him in when he's healthy, when he's dealing with a hamstring strain that could pop up at any moment. Just imagine T. Higgins in your lineup with a really good matchup, Joe Burrow playing well, and in the first quarter, all of a sudden, he's out with a hamstring injury and will not return for the rest of the game. It's happened before. T. Higgins has broken hearts and many a times. Just ask the ballers, okay? So, next up, Keenan Allen. Look, Keenan is getting a little older. Not gonna lie. Last year, it was an outlier. He had a career year this late in his career. It was absolutely magical the season that he had last year. And a lot of people are forgetting all of the injury concerns that he's had. So this is something that's been lingering since he was with the Chargers. It has followed him to Chicago. And I hate to tell you, but this ain't LA. So that's nice sunny weather that he was dealing with when he was playing home games with the Chargers. He's not going to get that October, November, December when it really counts for fantasy. So, yeah, if you got him on your team, I would be concerned. Don't panic, just being concerned. Okay. I will tell you this when he comes back, because I do expect him back, maybe not this week, but maybe next. So, week 3, if he has a really good week, take advantage of it and trade him immediately. So, that's what you call selling high. Now, his teammate, Rome Odunze, is listed as day-to-day with a knee injury. What does that mean? That means that DJ Moore gets all the love, and Cole Kmet could be a very sneaky start this week for the Bears. Now, no, I'm not talking about Zia, but you guys know my next favorite sponsor is Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. My boy Dusty down there. So, what do I have for you for Keller's Bakery? Very simple. You go down to Keller's. You can find them at 627 Lafayette Street in Youngsville, Louisiana, Tuesday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. Go down there, show them your phone, pull up your YouTube, go to subscribe channels, and show them that you subscribe to Faith in Football. And you don't even have to buy anything, but I don't see how you can go down there and not buy something because everything down there is delicious. You know, I have a sweet set of teeth. You get 2 free cookies by showing them that you subscribe to this channel. So make sure that if you're watching this, you're not subscribed, subscribe, like, share, all that kind of good stuff. Smash the notification button so you know when I've dropped new content. Guys, go down to Keller's Bakery. Show them this. 2 free cookies. They're delicious. I got some chocolate chip ones for the draft party. I tried some of the sugar cookies. They were good, but I am partial to chocolate chip. So, hey, go down there and you will not go wrong with anything that you get from Keller's. And remember that if you're visiting in town and you've heard about these things called king cakes and you've never had one, you can still order one from Keller's Bakery in Youngsville, even if it's not king cake season, because they will take orders for anything. So make sure you call them up, tell them you want a king cake. They'll fill it with whatever you want. They are absolutely delicious. Make sure you go down there and check them out. Tell them I sent you. So we're going into tight ends. Tight ends, I'm going to kind of burn through a little bit. I also have an appointment tomorrow. I have to be hydrated. So, Jake Ferguson, the tight end from Dallas, is dealing with an MCL sprain and a bone bruise. He was limited in practice. So there's something to keep an eye out. If you're a Jake Ferguson owner, he was one of those mid-range tight ends that a lot of people were comfortable taking if they missed out on the top 5, 6 tight ends early in your draft. Foster Moreau, who had an outstanding week 1 with the Saints, he is dealing with a concussion, so make sure that you keep an eye on him. If you went out and picked him up to throw on your bench after the amazing outing that he had with the Saints, Dalton Schultz, tight end, nope, not with the Cowboys. He is now with the Houston Texans. Make sure that you are keeping an eye on that. He had a DNP, which is a did not practice due to an ankle injury that he picked up in this past week's game. So make sure you keep an eye on that. Now, the big one for everybody that had him was David Njoku has been ruled out this week. He is considered week to week again with an ankle injury. So if you have somebody like Amari Cooper, then he's probably going to get a little uptick because they also lost Jerry Jeudy to injury in Cleveland. That was one wide receiver I did not touch on because he just ain't doing that much. So, but yeah, so David Njoku is considered week to week. So you're fixing to plug in your lineups. You're trying to set them all. I want you to make sure of something. And I said this and showed the example in the last episode, but it is worth repeating. And I'll try to repeat this for the next couple of weeks for you guys. Remember, every Tuesday is going to be a week in review, and every Thursday will be a start sit episode as I also go over injuries for the upcoming week. Those are the only 2 episodes that I do. However, make sure down the bottom, if you have a question about a specific start set that you're dealing with, make sure you message me down here in the comments. I do take care of the messages. As a matter of fact, we're going to answer one right now that was on the last episode. This is for my boy Nick. And let's see. Trying to pull up his. There we go. Okay, so Nick, this is what Nick wants to know. Nick has Jalen Hurts and Baker Mayfield. Now, last week, Mayfield was facing Washington, who has an absolutely porous defense. Now, they're going to get better. Calm down. I'm talking to myself right now. But he had an outstanding week. As a matter of fact, he had the number 1 performance for a fantasy quarterback in fantasy football this week. So a lot of people went out and picked him up, and they're torn between their starting quarterback because he had a down week or starting Baker Mayfield. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer this question very simply. Jalen Hurts is the question. Jalen Hurts versus Atlanta or Baker Mayfield. And let me see. Or Baker Mayfield versus Detroit. This is real easy, guys. Baker Mayfield versus Detroit. The over-under is much higher for Baker to have an outstanding game as opposed to Jalen Hurts in his matchup. So personally, I would go ahead. I would start Baker Mayfield. It looks like he hadn't lost a step. Like they kept everything the same. He's got Godwin, he's got Evans, he's got weapons. Go ahead and plug him in. Looks like the offensive line is holding up great for him. So I don't see any reservation in having Baker Mayfield start for you over Jalen Hurts. There's the answer for that question. So start sits for week 2. We're going to start with quarterback, work our way down to defense, just for those who also have defense slot in your league. I personally don't like playing with defenses, but that's me. So, start of the week at quarterback, I'm going to give you 2 guys per position. Aaron Rodgers versus the Titans. Look, the Titans, I don't believe in their defense, and Aaron Rodgers is looking for a win. If you need to start someone and you had questions about your starter, by all means, plug in Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you're the Joe Burrow owner and you went out and you picked up Aaron Rodgers off the waiver wire this week, because I seriously doubt that he was drafted, because way too many people were nervous about having Aaron Rodgers. But we saw him come out, we saw him perform, and perform at a good level. I'm not going to say decent, I'm not going to say like outstanding, but it's at a good level. With him having Garrett Wilson and hooking up with Allen Lazard, plus the fact that he has Breece Hall. Don't look for a whole lot of plays to be called, but he will make the most of what he does have. Now, a guy who has a lot of plays run, who is just otherworldly right now, that's my boy, Jayden Daniels, is my next start of the week, simply because we saw what he did against Tampa and the scoring that he put up for fantasy. Now, I'm not saying that he is that great as a real life NFL quarterback. However, for fantasy, speed kills, as well as a rushing quarterback in fantasy is basically what we call the Konami code. And it's kind of like a cheat code for video games. So this guy is video game type numbers that he can put up, and he's going up against the Giants. Guys, it's the Giants. They're horrible in defense. Okay. By all means, fire up Jayden Daniels. Matter of fact, I personally am starting Jayden Daniels as my starting quarterback this in my league of record. And that is over Kyler Murray. So I'm sitting Kyler Murray, and just because, one, I want to root for Jayden Daniels really, really bad, because he's on my fantasy team and because he's on my favorite team. Plus the fact that found out earlier today that Kyler Murray is also dealing with a little bit of an injury. It's nothing that has been caught on the report, but it is something to keep an eye on. So if you're the Kyler Murray manager, you might want to think about benching Kyler. I know I did. At running back, teammate to Jaden McDaniels, Brian Robinson Jr. Look, if you look at what Brian Robinson Jr. did last week, it is absolutely incredible. Let's turn this. Okay. So last week, 17.9 points. Last week. Had a touchdown, 40 yards, had four targets, 2 receptions, 40 yards. Look, guys, he's being involved in all aspects of the game right now. So if anybody remembers back to when RG3 first came on his rookie year and he just blew up, remember who blew up with him? That's right. Alfred Morris had an outstanding year behind an extremely mobile quarterback, just like Jayden Daniels. So Jayden Daniels, as a rushing quarterback, does give an uptick to the correlating running back in that backfield, because you got to account for the running quarterback as well as the running back. Next one, you probably had to go and pick this guy up off of waivers if you didn't have the foresight to draft him prior. That's J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins of the Los Angeles Chargers. It pains me to say that too because I liked him in San Diego, but that's me. He's going up against the Panthers. So yeah, I'm definitely going with J.K. Dobbins versus the Panthers. Okay. Now, next up, Allen Lazard. Look, this guy. Let me see. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Just had to verify something. But yeah, Allen Lazard is going up against the Titans. So, like I said, with Aaron Rodgers going up against the Titans, holds true again for Allen Lazard. We saw Allen Lazard Monday night going up against San Francisco. Now, San Francisco is no slouch when it comes to defense. We all know this. And the connection between Lazard and Rodgers, look, these are two BFFs from way back. They played together in Green Bay. Rodgers specifically asked for Lazard to come and play with him in New York with the Jets. So, yeah, he's going to target him. Talked about this last time. Look, Garrett Wilson owners, that's awesome. Garrett Wilson's an outstanding wide receiver, but when he doesn't have the connection, he ain't got the connection. So right now, Allen Lazard looks like the BFF and preferred target for Aaron Rodgers. So that is my start at wide receiver. Also, the next start, Rashid Shaheed, even though he is going up against Dallas, look, again, connection with quarterback matters. And I don't know if you've been able to watch any Saints games, but this guy, all he does is catch 20-plus yard catches from Derek Carr. When Carr's looking to go downfield, he's not looking at Chris Olave. He is looking strictly at Rashid Shaheed. Okay. This is the Rashid Rice discount version from the Chiefs in New Orleans. So make sure that if you have Rashid Shaheed going up against Dallas, don't be scared off by the defense. Go ahead and plug him in. He's definitely good for at least 2 bombs a game. Not to mention the crossing routes in the middle that he does and breaks them off for a touchdown. This guy is electric. So make sure that you're getting him in your lineup. Now, defense of the week for those of you who have defenses in your league. I actually put a bid in on these guys. I got beat out by $1. It's okay. I'm not that stressed. I have Baltimore as my starting defense, but this matchup was just way too good for me to not take. The Carolina Panthers going up against the Chargers. This is why I picked J.K. Dobbins as my start at running back, because they're going to be up a lot. And all they're going to have to do is run the ball, because that's all they want to do, number one. And number two, they're going to be winning most of the game. If any of you saw the Saints-Carolina game, look, anytime you can, unless Bryce Young just has an outer-body experience and is taken over by aliens and actually learns how to play NFL football, start a defense against Carolina. Trust me on this one, okay? Sits of the week for week 2. No surprise here. Joe Burrow versus the Chiefs. Look, like I said before, when I got a quarterback going like this on the sideline, that gives me pause for concern. So I'm going to be concerned, especially going up against a defense like the Chiefs, who pretty much held Lamar in check, with the exception of the performance by Isaiah Likely. I really didn't see a whole lot going on, and Lamar had to do everything. Well, I hate to tell you, but Joe Burrow is no Lamar Jackson. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's wants to stay in the pocket and pass. But if you got a bum wrist, one land on that wrist, one hit, you're done. Okay. Now, my next one, kind of contradictory here, but it's Derek Carr going up against Dallas. Look, it's great that he can a couple of bombs to a wide receiver. That can make a wide receiver's week. Okay. 3 catches for like 75 and a touchdown. That's a really good outing for a wide receiver. But when you're a quarterback and you're only getting 150 yards, if you're not scoring more touchdowns, you're not going to be that happy with the performance from that quarterback. So I don't see Derek Carr going into Dallas and actually challenging the Cowboys. Okay. So their defense is no slouch. Micah Parsons, he's looking for a paycheck. CD got paid, Dak got paid, Malik, or sorry, Malik name. Micah Parsons wants a contract and he's upset and he's going to take it out on whoever the quarterback is on the other side of that line. And this week it's Derek Carr. So have fun, Derek. Running back. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap because of the performance last week that this running back had, because I've been talking this guy up all draft season. I told you it pained me to talk about a former Cowboy, and it did. However, Tony Pollard had an outstanding week 1. However, for week 2, he gets to go up against the Jets. I'm not risking it against Tony Pollard. Now, I'm pretty sure that if you've got Tony Pollard on your squad, you've got options. Okay, this isn't like I'm telling you to sit Bijan Robinson or I'm telling you to sit Breece Hall. Okay, I'm not going to tell you to start those guys because that's obvious. You're going to start your studs, period. The guys you have questions about, those are the guys that I'm talking about for start sits. And Tony Pollard is definitely falling into that category of I got questions. Yes, he had a great week 1. But as I talked about last episode, just because you're a week 1 hero does not mean that you're a season-long hero. It could mean that you're a season-long 0. And we saw Tony Pollard back last year have an outstanding week 1. And then we saw the season that we got from him. Nobody wanted that. I'm saying that we're going to get that again because I think Tony Pollard is in a great situation for the remainder of his season. I'm just telling you, this week, I would look for a better option. Now, my next one, Aaron Jones, running back. Nope, not of the Packers. Keep up with the times. Running back for the Minnesota Vikings going up against the San Francisco 49ers. Look, like I said earlier, the Niners are no slouch when it comes to defense. And yes, they got gouged last week, okay, by a backup. But he's a really good backup. Jordan Mason is no joke, okay? Or, I'm sorry. He gouged the Jets. Switching my teams here. I got a lot of Jets 49ers. But yeah, Tony Pollard is no Jordan Mason. So even though he's going up against the Jets, who did get gouged last week, don't worry about it. Aaron Jones, Minnesota versus the Niners. Look, guys, the Niners, like I said, are no slouch when it comes to defense. And everybody knows that they're going to run the ball. They got Sam Darnold at quarterback. Okay. That in and of itself should give you pause for concern. I laid off of Justin Jefferson this draft season. I didn't want anything to do with him. I had the 5th overall pick in 2 different leagues where I could have drafted Justin Jefferson. There is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to touch Justin Jefferson. I'm just not. I don't care. Look, Jordan Addison is hurt. He's banged up. He hasn't been doing good enough to even make a mention in depth on the injury report. So that's why I didn't even mention him. But Justin Jefferson, yes, he's a great, talented wide receiver, but he's getting thrown to by Sam Darnold. Aaron Jones, he's a good-ish running back. Packers got rid of him because they thought he was over the hill. I really haven't seen a whole lot to prove him wrong. So if you have Aaron Jones, please sit him down. I know you got options because you probably got him in the middle rounds. Wide receiver, I'll tell you right now, if Malik Willis is starting for the Green Bay Packers, please sit all of your Packer wide receivers. They're going up against the Colts. The Colts have a surprisingly good defense. So please make sure that you're setting your Packer players. I'm not trusting that Jaden Reed is going to blow up like he did last week and have the best performance in fantasy football. I don't think that Christian Watson is just going to pop off the page like he does with Jordan Love. Romeo Doubs, come on. Dontavian Wicks barely made an appearance, and that was with Jordan Love. My guess is this, is that Malik Willis is going to hyper-target one receiver. He's going to lock in on one. Well, the problem is the Packers have 4 that you can pick from. Do you really want to play Russian roulette with your fantasy team? I don't think so. So if you got Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks, or Romeo Doubs, I'm pretty sure you got options because none of those guys were going super early in drafts. So if you got a better flex, put them in. Next up, Davante Adams. Look, Davante ain't happy in Vegas with the Raiders, despite what he might publicly come out and say. Look, he just gave props to another quarterback in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. They're playing the Ravens this week. I'm sorry. Age, quarterback play, and the fact that he's been doing this for a while, I'm not trusting that. Now, I know you probably paid a high price to get Davante Adams on your team, but this is where the tough decisions are being made. So if you want to start him, I understand. But I'm telling you, temper your expectations. Now, as far as the defenses go, before I get into the defense, I got 2 more guys to mention for my sponsorship. Make sure if you're in Lafayette, Louisiana, you find yourself downtown. I want you to go to 603 Jefferson Street inside of Gordon Square. That's where you're going to find Amis Groceries. They have over 200 different local items from over 50 different local vendors. Fresh farm eggs, beef, chicken. They've got whatever you want. Go down there, check them out. And if you've got a sweet tooth, and I know I mentioned this a lot, but I love sweets, go down there, check out the freeze-dried candy. It's right in the window. You can't miss it. When you walk by, you'll see it. It'll pull you in. Outstanding, great. And it is local. So help support the local economy down in Lafayette, Louisiana. Make sure that you're stopping by Amis Grocery, 603 Jefferson Street in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana, inside of Gordon Square. And while you're down there, take a look at the building. It's absolutely historically awesome. Okay, it used to be an old hotel. Now it's office buildings. Got some shops in there. Go down there, check them out while you're downtown. Tell them that Neil sent you. Tell Bradley I said hi. Now, next guy I'm talking about, and again, sorry, have the hat on. Been a bad hair day. My bad. But go down there, check out my boy Nick at Alpha Barber Company. You can find him at 4519 Johnson Street. Give Nick Reed a call, 337-345-8233. Make an appointment, go down there, see him, and he will line you up right. Okay, I know I need to get down there and see him. I don't know if I'm shaving or beard. I'm probably shaving because the wife doesn't like the beard. Just rubs her the wrong way, literally. But I promise next episode you'll be seeing the hair and the great job that Nick does for me down at Alpha Barber Company, 4519 Johnson Street. Okay. make sure you check those guys out. So last on my list, this actually was my defense last week in one of my leagues, and it is the New Orleans Saints. They played Carolina, got a lot of points out of the Saints last week, but this week going up against Dallas, I don't look for a whole lot of points to come out of about almost said Seattle, out of the Saints against the Cowboys. Trust me, I am so rooting for New Orleans this week. It's not even funny. I will be an honorary Saint fan, whatever they call them. So I'll be rooting really, really hard for the Saints. Don't get me wrong. I will root again for anybody against Dallas. Okay. Unless it benefits Washington, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, definitely I actually dropped the Saints in my league record, and like I said, I'm starting the Ravens this week. Especially going up against the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Yeah, I know Minshew is good for at least 2 interceptions and a couple of sacks. So I'm playing the odds here, guys. And that's basically all you do. So that's the injury report and my start set for this week. Want you to remember one thing. I hope that while we're reading through this, that you were keeping in mind that word may. Okay. Remember, may is a permission word. Okay. You have to allow yourself to be devoured by the enemy. The enemy can't just come in and bum rush you. Okay. They've got to be invited in. You've got to want them to devour you. You've got to give them permission to devour you. Once you give up that permission, then they can devour you. Don't give them permission. Stand strong against the enemy. Turn to the Lord and let him fight your battles for you. That's what he's there for. If you need help, make sure you're reaching out to your brothers and sisters in Christ, and they can help you as well. Remember, lions don't just go after the lame and the weak. They go after the ones who are alone because they can't take on the whole herd. They want to get you singled out. They want to get you by yourself where you're feeling lonely and vulnerable and you give up hope. Don't give up the hope. Don't give up the power. Don't give the enemy permission. Make sure that you're standing strong the same way you're going to stand strong in your league, and you're going to fight till the very end to get what you want, and that's one of these. Okay? So make sure you're standing and fighting. Make sure that you're staying on guard and you're ready to battle the enemy the same way that you dive in each week to battle your opponent in fantasy football. So, guys, for everybody here at Faith in Football, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, so you remember all the perks. Go down there, check out Zia and Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. Tell them I sent you, get your free stuff. And remember, football is good, but God is greater. We'll see you guys next time on Faith in Football. Good luck in week 2.